What is up, family? Today we're going to be going over some Smite 2 Close Alpha 6 update notes. The reason I'm going over this is because this one is a very hefty update along with few gods, and plus, since it's going to come out most likely tomorrow on Tuesday 11/12, it should be today when this update video comes out. I just want to make sure everybody here is caught up to date. This video, I'm going to try to make it fast and nice. I'm sure if you guys didn't want to watch the 1 hour high res Titan talk show, then you guys don't want to watch an hour video going over a change and update. So, first off, general changes. We got some auto build changes. Usability toggle between auto build on versus off. Um, and they also made an item. They also made an update on the console item store and just the way it looks. So this is how it's going to look. Item store wise, a bull icon is now on all active items to make it easier to find. God's Grid coming soon dates have been added. So Poseidon, Thor, so they're going to have a nice coming soon. So just a bunch of UI stuff. Overview tab, so they changed the overview tab in the gods page to display more god specific info and god lore. Um, Ranked draft lobby. So they added which team and player is banning and picking the upper left corner of the god selection for better clarity and help with text overlap during the pick and ban phases. Moving on to Conquest, they got a gold free change, which increased base movement speed from 400 to 450, and anti body block. So if the gold fury is in range of her target, she will use her normal attack. If the gold fury is out of range of her target, but there are enemies in the way, she will attack all of them with a cleave. Her movement speed must be slightly lower than base for this to trigger. And of course, a Warhorn fix the pit into removing properly from players, and fix in the pit effect, granting the wrong amount of damage reduction for the Warhorn. Now, as far as Izanami, which is one of the new gods coming, so um, we have her deals physical damage and her new feature, which is thanks to heavy focus on hybrid scaling, players can now choose their build path to determine whether they want to be a hard hitting basic attack or an ability based. And then again, this kind of I'm not gonna go over the new features of the gods. I'm just gonna be going over more of the balance changes. So if you guys want, feel free to pause the video. But again, Izanami, the main thing with Izanami is her 3. She gets to be invisible. As you can, and while she's invisible, you can use her abilities. But I believe she gets out of invisibility after during your basic attack, right? So that's basically the big change in Izanami: gain movement speed while stealth, stuff like that. Khepri, second new god coming. Nothing really added to Khepri except for his 2. Um, and it's better, you can more control Khepri when he is using his 1. You can move him around and stuff like that. But that's pretty much the change with Khepri. Nemesis, they didn't really do much with Nemesis either. They did give her a crazy ult. Again, please feel free to pause the video. Again, just trying to make this video as quick as I can. But this is the nitty gritty. God balance on her buff. We have another buff from on her. Enfeeble, updated description, blah blah blah. But the Desert Fury increased damage for tick from 60, 85, 135, 160 to 65, 90, 115, 140, and 165. 5 increase on damage per tick, but that scales off and it'll just be very strong. Even though 5 looks like a small amount, it will do a pretty significant impact. Increase final damage from his ult from 100, 145, 190, 235, 280, plus 80% strength to 110, all the way to 290, and then increase the strength percentage from 80 to 90%. Baron nerf, which is great. Baron's still very strong, left of the party. Decrease vortex strength by 10%, so hopefully you can beat out and be able to walk away from it. Decrease history of vortex by 20%. Decrease percent health scaling from 5% to 2.5%. Moving on to Chalk, he got a buff, which I think makes him super broken now. He was already broken, but since pros weren't using him, they buffed him, which decreases cooldown from his Thunder Strike from 10 seconds to all the way down to where it scales off to 8 seconds. And then Rain Dance increased the heal from 6, 11, 16, 21, 26 to 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30. So pretty much a +4 in all levels. Decreased cooldown from 14 to 13 seconds, which this buff right here, I think he's going to make him super strong. Probably one of the top 3 solo laners. I think he was already a top 3 solo laner, but he wasn't picked because a lot of gods outshined him and pros weren't using him as much. But Chalk, I think he's going to be very viable now. especially with these buffs. Fool's Gold, some more buffs on Danza, increased damage scaling from 85 plus 50 int to 90 strength plus 65 int. So increase in strength, increase in int, 5% increase in strength, 15% increase in int, which I think also makes him very, very strong. Decrease cooldown from 16 to 16, 15.5, 15, 14.5 to 14 seconds, and his ult adjusted damage scaling from 85 strength plus 85 int to 100 strength plus 70 int. So buff on the strength and a nerf on the int, but overall a buff. Um, yeah, overall just a buff. And then adjusted the damage from 60 to 60 int to 50 and 80 int. So moving on to Hercules Driving Strike, they gave Hercules a buff, just decreases cooldowns from 14 to 13 seconds. Earthbreaker from 14 to 13 seconds. I still think Hercules is broken. I don't think this buff was needed. Um, but hey, what are we gonna do about it? But yeah, he did. I don't think he needed a buff. Nua buff. I also just don't think this god needed a buff. She's one of the highest win rate gods, highest play rate gods, but she's getting a decreased cooldown on the strength of wood and shining metal. She's getting increased damage from 55 int to 65 int with a 1 second decrease in cooldown on all levels. Raw buff. Raw buff did not need Raw and mid might not be as broken, but Raw solo, if you build him with that very high sustain build, he's very broken. Increased damage from his Searing Pain from 400, 475, 550, 675 to and 700 to 425, so pretty much a 25 damage increase on all levels. Sobek nerf, I think this was a very much needed. Sobek's still super broken. Increased cooldown from 12 seconds to 14 seconds. Soul buff. Soul, fall enough in the meta. I think this buff is needed. Increase slow on her stellar burst ability 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 to 25, 27.5, 30, 32, 0.5 and 35%. So more in the early game start. So these three levels right here were the main difference. And Supernova, decreased cooldown from 90 seconds all level to 90, 85, 80, 75 to 70 seconds. So if once you max it out, 20-second cooldown decrease in general. Another Thanatos buff. I don't think it was needed, but it's great to see. I love playing some Thanatos. However, he did get a buff in his lifesteal. He got a buff in his sense of death. So it's a +1 on the second, +1 on the second level, +2 on the third level, +3 on the fourth level, and +4 on the max level. And Soul Reaper decreased cooldown from 14 on all levels to where it scales off all the way down to 12 seconds. Not that crazy of a buff, but I still think the more buffs that Thanos, the stronger he is. I think what they're doing is they would just want Thanatos to be up and to be upscaled to par with the junglers, especially that Nem and Thor are going to come out soon. So they just think they don't want Thanatos to fall off with the other junglers. Yemoja buff. I don't think this was needed. Yemoja is a very, very good god, but she is very hard to play. Um, However, maybe this buff can get her more playtime from casual players. We got an increased damage from her Moonstrike from 30, 55, 80, 105 to 130 plus 15 int. Basically taking a plus 10 to 15 um, increase in damage with a plus 5% int buff. Mending Waters, adjusted shield scaling health from 15% int to 5% max health. And then we got a Zeus nerf, which is very much needed, but I don't think this will fix Zeus's problem. Detonate Charge, which is his 3 decreased damage on basically his level 2 all the way to max. This was not the problem. His 3 was not the problem, but according to the devs in the show, they don't want to. They already they already nerfed Zeus's 1 on the previous patch, so they don't want to kill Zeus. They want him to still be viable. So this is the approach that they're taking. However, this approach doesn't it we'll see if it solves it, but right now, just from reading it does not solve the high damage that he does with his 1. Now, item balances. They added a new tier 1 item, new tier 2 item, the Soul Reaver buff, adjusted recipe from Oracle Staff, so a recipe adjustment and increased mana regen from 4 to 5, which is you don't really, mana doesn't really matter in this game. General focus buff, adjusted recipe, increase int from 35 to 40, which is great. Tech Okage buff, I think this buff was very nice. They adjusted recipe from just one Ceastus, whatever you want to call it, to ring plus ski gox. Um, as you know, with Soul Reaver, you get a gold item for 1,000, and then you need to save up 1,700 gold to get your Tekokage. Sorry, I said Soul Reaver to start, right? Yeah, to get your Tekokage buff, to get your Tekokage final build. Um, which is a huge jump. So I think this recipe adjustment was great. Yoin's Revenge buff, just a recipe adjustment. Blood Forge buff. So they're trying to make tier 2 items viable with these two, which is great. More items, more stronger you are, more power spikes you'll feel. Blood Forge buff, more recipe adjustments, and they added a 15% attack speed. So you might, start seeing this built a lot more. Devour's Gauntlet, so Devil's buff, just decrease in cost reduction. Sunbeam Bow buff, so Sunbeam Bow has been, although they've recently just added it, it's been pretty weak in the meta. Nobody's really using it unless they do a little troll build. So recipe adjustment, remove mana, increase strength from 25 to 30, added 25 int, increase mana regen from 3 to 5, increase active damage scaling from 20 to 25. Will this item be viable? I don't think so. Only 25 int. It's more of a hybrid item that I don't really see anybody building, unless you want to be like a ranged Bellona or ranged Thanatos. Um, but yeah, Kinsblade decreased cost. So we got Kinsblade, Dagger Frenzy, Demon Blade, Death Metal, Mushashi's Dual Sword buff, Hydra's Lemon, Transcendence, Heartseeker. Oh, sorry. Oopsies. Went too fast. So Kinsblade, Dagger, Demon Blade, Death Metal, and Musashi's Dual Sword. Oh my god. I gotta do that all over again. Okay, so moving on to Kinsblade, we got a decreased cost, as well as Dagger Frenzy, Demon Blade, and Death Metal. They're all getting a decreased cost, but that's pretty much it. And then increase in strength, we got Dual Swords, Hydras, Trans, Heartseeker, Crusher, which is these two are already great jungler items, so you can count Transcendence in there for Loki. But avatars and yeah, so all these guys are getting increase in strength, so that's a pretty good change from a jungler. Junglers are going to have a ton of fun in this patch. And then Pendulum, decreasing cost, which is, I think, another jungler item. You can build this on Thanatos. Talon Spain, another jungler item, ADC item. You can start building really well. Increase strength from 40 to 45. That's super broken. It already does so much damage. Plus, it has 20% pen, so that's crazy. Decrease that cooldown of Prophetic Cloak. So a lot of people, you see a lot of people building Prophetic now. I think this puts it back in the meta for sure. Decrease cooldown stacks so you can earn your stacks faster. Ferris Curse nerf. Increase cooldown from 40 to 60. Devs said they don't want you to be slowing, enemies like it's nothing, so they increase the cooldown in there. Lifebinder buff, decrease active cooldown from 50 to 30. No one's been really building Lifebinder. I've seen Haddix build it, but nobody really else. Bumbas. So this right here is what I want to talk about also. So they're reworking Bumbas, the jungle starter. So they're removing strength in all levels, but instead they're now providing 15 strength or 20 int at the starter, and then it scales off to 35 strength to 60 int. Now, depending on which stat is higher, that's what buff you'll get. So you cannot get both of these buffs. It's either going to be strength or your int, depending on which stat is higher. Now, it's unclear whether which stat you get if you have an equal amount of strength and an equal amount of int. The devs said that they're unsure of it right now, but there's going to be more clarification on it in the future. There'll probably be some item details. But right now, I think they said that they believe it will default to strength if you have an equal amount of strength and an equal amount of int. So that's what I want to talk about with the Bumbas change. I think it's a pretty good change. We're starting to you can start to introduce more Athenian jungles are going to be common, and you can just have more fun in the jungle role. You can start doing Baron jungle with this change as well. So I think it's a great change. Bug fixes, just a bunch of bug fixes. Nothing really. We're getting some Morgan bug fixes, which is great. She really needs it. She's super broken. She's super fun, but super broken. But yeah, I'm just gonna scroll through these. If you guys want to read them through at your own time, feel free to pause the video. Godbots, but they did say that there are a ton of good bug fixes here, and here are the known issues. But that's all for today's video, guys. I try to keep it as short and sweet as possible. There was a lot of things to cover. If you guys did enjoy, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Next video should be Nemesis Jungle. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. If I can't queue up Nemesis, then I'll try to post something that maybe like an Izanami Jungle or whatever. Right? All right. Um, as always, thank you so much for the support. Been getting a ton of support lately. I really appreciate it, especially in my videos. Thank you for the comments. Thank you so much for everything. It really does go a long way. As always, I hope you guys did enjoy. Please feel free to leave a like, subscribe, comment what you guys want to see. If you guys want to see me play, Izanami Jungle, Cavalry Jungle, I'll do anything for you guys. Just let me know. All right. I'll see you later, family.